Yo, what's good? What's good? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How you doing? This is Coffee and Sports in the Morning show on the Empire Sports Network. Here with your coach, with your always host, handsome Coach Dante. Side to my right, my boy Mo Better, and down below me, my guy Chris. Good morning, fellas. How you guys doing this morning?
Good morning, guys. Doing well.
Morning, gentlemen. Happy to be here as always.
Always. We got the chat fired up early in the morning, and it should be Deal in the building, Key in the building, and brother Freddie in the building. Freddie, don't start nothing this morning. Don't start your crap, man. This morning, my boy Burn in the building. It's my boy right there. It's a lot to be excited about this morning, fellas. Free agency. We got some summer league basketball tonight. I'll talk more about that later today. So let's get right into it, man. We got some good moves throughout day one of free agency and day two, some moves that went off the board. But I want to start with an underrated. It's not an underrated topic. Pretty much sure that everybody know about this. Damian Lillard finally axed out of Portland. Before we get to the free agency recap, but Damian Lillard finally axed out of Portland. I never thought he put pressure on the front office, to get up out of there. I know some hints every now and then that he would toss out there just to say he make it seem like he doesn't really want to be there, but he actually never before came out and said he wanted out. I said he had to come out, put pressure on the front office and say he wants out. He finally said it. Now he's going to get his wish. It's just a matter to who. He doesn't have any leverage. He doesn't have no trade clause who he wants to go. So that means Portland don't actually have to trade him to Miami. They can trade him to the best suitor for them. They can trade it for the best suitor for them. So Mo, I'm gonna start with you first. Mo. What you think about Damian Lillard axing out, and who should be the destination for Damian Lillard? We already know he wants to go to Miami, but again, he doesn't have the leverage of when he wants to go.
So this has been going on for a while, the Dame watch thing. I mean, it was bigger than usual this season, but I think after the last 3 seasons, there's been a Dame watch. Damian Lillard doesn't want to be the bad guy, or he didn't want to be the bad guy. So he never put really any pressure on the front office to do things the way he wanted. He implied that he didn't want to be on a team that was a young team. He didn't want to be part of that, which, look, that makes sense. He's 32 years old. I understand that. But he never made that like a deal breaker. He just implied he wouldn't want to do that. But what did they do? They went out and they drafted Scoot Henderson. They didn't trade the pick. Scoot's there. After that, he still was saying, like, well, this is where I want to be. If they build a championship type roster around me, knowing full well, when you think of the major cities and the teams in the NBA, when was the last time a top free agent ever came to Portland willingly? If you go to Portland, it's because you've been traded, but you didn't go there of your own free will. It just doesn't happen. People don't go to Portland of their own free will. They don't go to Utah of their own free will. They're just certain places. As great as Giannis is, I doubt a top free agent will go to Milwaukee because it's Milwaukee. No offense, Milwaukee. I'm just saying that, to me, all the signs were there for him to go, and he just seemed to hang on and hang on. I don't know how you guys felt, but to me, when they signed Jeremy Grant for $160 million, I would have been like, so this is a sign we're not trying to build a championship roster. That's what that would tell me. Jeremy Grant is a good player. But the place that he's shown out the most, where he kind of made a name for himself, was when he was on the Denver Nuggets as a fourth option and a defensive specialist. He shined.
Yep.
He goes to Detroit, and he proved what a lot of us already knew. He was capable of being the leading scorer on a very bad team.
Yep.
And I just think that when you look at his talent and his skill set, you want him on your team, but for $160 million, I'm sorry. To me, I feel like Dame almost waited too long to ask for a trade. And now he's saying, I want to go to Miami. This will make me happy. And if I'm Portland, and I don't know if you guys noticed, their GM is actually an interim GM. He's a new GM. If I'm that guy, I'm going to send you where we get the best package in the return for you. I'd like to help you out and send you to Miami, but there are other teams out there with better assets to help us going forward in our rebuild. So as basketball analysts, I think we all agree Miami would be a great fit. Even though I don't see it happening, Philly would be kind of an interesting fit. But if I'm Portland management, I'm looking for the best deal, not where it's Damian Lillard happy.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
So Portland basically got exactly what they needed. They didn't want to be the ones to ship Dame out. They didn't want the fan base to turn on them because they're a business, right? And they need people to come to games. They need to sell tickets. So they were hedging both their bets. They drafted the future, and they had no interest in moving Dame until he said something, because they're trying to win now, not championships, games, and be relevant now while also developing the future. And in their minds, wherever it ends up, it ends up. They were hoping to have their cake and eat it too. But at the same time, they're talking out of both sides of their mouths, because you're not building a championship team when you're drafting a player that's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to develop. And Dame's already 32. His window is what? 2, maybe 3 years. So by drafting the future, you're not lining up with Dame. By signing someone to a bag that isn't worth half the money you gave him, you're not lining up with Dame's window. So they're saying we want to build around Dame and we're building a championship team and we want to win now. But then you see what they're doing and you're like, no, you're not doing that. But I understand, because you want to say those things because you want to keep Dame happy, because Dame sells tickets and people come to see Dame. And you're not trying to tank at your ticket sales for the next year or two while you're developing into whatever it is you're going to develop into. So I get why they did what they did. They're trying not to be destroyed by their fan base. So they got exactly what they wanted. Dame requested the trade. So what do? They come out and they say, we're going to work together to make this happen. You're looking like the good guys. And they drop some other line about how they're still committed to being a winning franchise. What is that saying? That's saying that we want to win even though Dame wants to leave. Now, they're not directly saying Dame's a bad guy, but they're allowing you to read in between the lines. Our mission, we were committed the entire time to be a winning team, even though Dame doesn't want to be here anymore. You're basically saying Dame's walking out on you. So, yeah, they're going to do what they can for Dame, because, again, it's all optics, right? No matter who they make the trade with, they're not going to be a championship contender this year or next year or probably the year after. So, yes, you want to get the best you can get for Dame. At the same time, you're not trying to get killed by your fan base. So I think they're going to do, they're not going to send him to Siberia. They're not going to do that. They're going to send him to a decent team. But like Mo said, it's the decent team that gives them the best package, because they still have to put a competitive team out there on the court. So it sucks for Dame, because like Mo said, he probably waited a year or two too long, and it is what it is. And you can't fault the guy. He liked where he was. He wanted to win on his own guidelines, whatever those guidelines were, even though the entire league was shifting and teaming up with friends to win championships. He was like, no, I want to do it here. That's admirable. It didn't work out. We all knew it wasn't going to work out because no one's going to Portland.
No.
So now your best hope is he gets on a contender, and at some point he can compete for a championship. Obviously, Miami's the best fit. I don't see him going there because what are they going to offer that's even comparable to what 2 or 3 other teams are going to offer? And it's not going to be that. If he goes to Miami, it's 100% Portland taking care of him. And I just can't see an interim GM doing that. Now, if it's someone that's been there for 15 years or 10 years and he has clout and he's like, no, I'm going to take care of this guy. What he did for us, we're going to take care of him. I get it. That's not the situation, though. He's going to go to the best offer, and then who knows? It could be a situation where in a year or two he kind of fades away into irrelevancy. That's what happens sometimes.
Yep. So me personally, if I'm Jeremy Grant, I gotta be the craziest guy. I gotta be the craziest guy to sign that deal, knowing Jeremy Grant. I understand you want your money, but knowing that Dame Lillard not want to be there and Portland is in rebuild, why would I want to sign? And I think he kind of knew the writing was going to be on the wall sooner or later, that Damian Lillard was going to ask out sooner or later. But other than that, hey, I think I heard some news about Jeremy Grant contract could be more tradable if Portland isn't as well as they could be. But other than that, man, like I say, man, if I'm Portland now, I'm looking for the best offer. I'm not rushing him to Miami. He can be as disgruntled he want if he doesn't go to Miami, but he doesn't have any leverage on this point. He doesn't have a no trade clause. He can't control where he wants to go. He can't control who he wants to go. So if I'm Portland, I'm just looking for the best deal. And I don't think the 76ers, Gene. I don't think the 76ers Gene is gonna trade Maxey. I don't think they would. I don't think they actually would. I think they already came out and said they weren't gonna give him up, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't give up Maxey. Put Maxey in the deal. I wouldn't do it.
Let me ask you a question, Coach.
Go ahead.
Do you guys and Chris, do you think that Dame kind of overplayed his hand by being stubborn and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm not going to join other team, I'm not going to join up with another star on my level to the I'm just wondering, do you guys think he stayed a little too long?
Of course he did, because like you said, Portland's not dumb. Portland knows what they can and cannot get. They know what their history is of what we could and could not get. Portland knows stars are not knocking down their door to come play for their team. When prime Dame, easily one of the top 10 players in the league, maybe a top 5 player in the league in his prime at the time. Who was asking to go play with him? Who was asking to sign with Portland? Not many. So you got Portland, who in the back of their mind knows we're not getting something comparable to Dame. We might not even be getting 1A to Dame. We're getting B players at the most here. So they know what they can and cannot sign. And then they have their stars saying, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. I want to win championships here with you guys. And they're like, yeah, buddy, because they know that once he demands a trade, they got to trade him. So while he's saying, kumbaya, I want to be home, they're like, stay with us, because they know they can't do anything else.
Yep.
So they were perfectly okay with him overplaying his hand, because they knew on the back end that when this day came, they were going to lose him and not replace him with a superstar. And who knows the next time they're going to get one. And like Mo said, it's going to be in the draft. So the next time they're terrible and they get a first or second pick, that's the next superstar that's going to be in Portland.
Well, to be honest, I thought he should have been up out of there after they lost the Western Conference Finals. With him and CJ McCollum, I thought they should have been out of that much more earlier, because they went on to trade. What they do the very next year, they went in a trade deadline. They went on trade with CJ McCollum. I thought that was the writing point. It was clear, and the team shouldn't have got as far as the way they did. They shouldn't have got as far. But you lost every game in the other series, which you was up by double-digit points in that series, and you still lost the series. But I thought they should have. That's when they should have came off Dame. They did come off CJ McCollum, and he was able to help out New Orleans no more than a playing game, playing tournament, or they played Phoenix in the playoffs and fought hard with them. But I thought that's when they should have came off Dame. The moment they lost the Western Conference Finals, I thought that's when I thought that shit came off of them at that point, because it was clear they weren't going to win a title. They damn sure weren't going to win a title at that point in time, or if he stays there, they weren't no close of winning a championship. And Gene said Bradley Beal was a genius. Hell yeah, he was a genius. He had Washington hands tied. So he has up out of there quick. The moment he has up out of there, they traded him. They got nothing but second round picks, and they got fleeced. Washington got killed. They got fleeced. They held on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Does Dame start the season on the Blazers? Because I'm starting to feel like that's not impossible, because if he's at an impasse, right, they're going to say, well, we've made a deal with Club C, and it's not one of the two clubs he wanted to go to. Can he be stubborn and say, well, I'm not going to report, or anything to disrupt the whole deal? Like, I'm not so sure he gets traded before the season starts.
If I'm Portland, I'm hanging on to him as much as I could. You don't gotta rush. It ain't a rush. You seen what the Rockets did when James Harden wanted out. They didn't rush. And that's why I applaud Raphael Stone to this day. He wanted out. He wanted to be disgruntled. Don't rush to put him up out. Don't rush to get him up out of there. Get the best offer you could, and the Rockets did that. And it paid off for them picks. It turned into those picks, Aubin Thompson and all of those picks that we got that paid out pretty much. It's just we had a terrible head coach and a terrible basketball team. But I liked it what Raphael Stone did. You don't got to rush if you're Portland. You can just find the best deal. If it meant starting a season with him, if he wants to sit out and don't wants to play, that's fine. You can keep him on the roster all day long. Just find the best deal that's going to help your organization and help your franchise. You don't got to rush to trade him. So it's possible he could start the season as Portland. But if he plays or not, that remains to be seen if he plays on that team or not.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm Portland, I'm not trying to get into this staring contest.
Yeah, I'm not trying. Yeah.
He already said he wanted to leave. So I'm going to take care of business, and I'm going to ship him out before the season starts, because the last thing I need is this divide between us and the fans, where he's still here and he's not. I don't think he takes the disgruntled look. It doesn't seem to be Dame's personality. So are we going to have a situation where Dame's still here, but we're not going to play him because we don't want him to get hurt? We can't have him getting hurt because then we can't trade him. So as an organization, if he's still here, financially, responsibly, we can't play the man. So we got to sit him until we can move him, unless, the dialogue changes somehow. So now we got a situation where the guy that everyone loves is still on the team, but we're not playing him, and we look incompetent because we couldn't find. That's a disaster. So we got to move him before the season starts. We're not going to rush it and take, pennies on the dollar, but we got to get it wrapped up and kind of close that chapter before the season begins. And then if you're Portland, what's the word out of your mouth? It's scoot. What do you want? Oh, scoot. What's happening? Scoot's happening. That's all we're talking about, because that's what more can we talk about? That is the future. So we got to close Dame, and then all we talk about is scoot, and we just hope for the best.
Let's not slip on the fact that Miles Simon is a talented player. Now
Anthony Simons.
I'm sorry, Anthony Simons. I apologize. Anthony Simons already can get you buckets. He's talented. Like he's almost like a junior version of Dame, but he's still getting better. I think he's 23 years old. So they've already got him. Then you've got Scoot. Don't forget Shaedon Sharpe is there. They have talented perimeter players going forward to build off of. I just question the Jeremy Grant signing, not to bring him back. I'm not arguing. You want to keep good players in house, and maybe teams are just to the point where they get to the habit of just bidding against themselves. Like when you give him $160 million, it's not because there was another team in the NBA was like, we're going to snatch up Jeremy Grant if you don't pay him $160 million. It boggles my mind. Look, I will say this. I'm all for any player getting his money, getting paid. I am never going to hate on a player getting paid, but just as a business move, I do not see how that benefits that franchise going forward.
Hold on. Good morning, everybody. I was sitting watching the show, and I disagree 100% on the takes. Damian Lillard holds all the cards in this, you guys. I mean, he comes out and says, hey, I'm not playing for nobody other than Miami. Other teams, you trade for me. his agent tell these other teams, you trade for me, I will sit out. He hold the keys.
Freddie,
I mean,
he's 32. If he sits out, he'll be 33. Like at some point, his value, he's gonna devalue himself. I don't think the threat of sitting out is gonna hold too much water. Like, and that kind of hurts his brand. Like he's Damian Lillard, he's a ball player. He's Mr. I don't fear anything.
What he wants to do. He don't have the leverage to what he want to
right.
do.
I don't think he has that kind of leverage.
We've seen players in the NBA that they were so set on going to a team. And then let's be honest, that organization's owe that to him. They owe that to him. That man has gave you his heart, his loyalty, the dedication, him sacrificing, going through bad teams and put them on their back. They owe that to that man.
The NBA is a business. NBA teams don't owe players anything. This is a business, and the business getting in. It would be stupid of Portland to sacrifice any bit of their future because they owe Dame something. This is a business. Dame chose not to be there. He made that choice. Now, you can say he's right, and I think he is right, and I think he should have made the choice 2 years ago. But once you say you're out, that's it. You're out. And the company has the right to do what's best for the company. So if I'm Portland, I'm not going to send him to Detroit or somewhere because that's just a bad look. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm going to look at, what all the decent teams in the league who want him are offering. That way I can say I sent him to a contender. What more do you want from me? Because at the end of the day, when you choose to leave, you don't get to pick where you go. Unless you have no trade clause. If you got no trade clause, you pick where you go. But he's not Bradley Beal.
We've seen Anthony Davis when he forced himself out of New Orleans. Rich Paul and his agent was telling teams, "Hey, it's Lakers or bust. I will not play." And guess what? Teams got afraid. Teams bagged out, and they said, "You know what? We're staying out of that." If I'm Damian Lillard, I'm doing the same thing. You gave your loyalty, your dedication. You put that team on your back. Hey, I don't care. Portland's a dumpster fire, and they show disgrace to that man, and they show the least they can do is to make that man happy.
And I think the
Lakers also had the assets to do it too. You forgot they did have.
But Coach, Boston had better assets. They had the first
overall pick. Yes, they did. They had the first overall pick, which got them Anthony Davis. So they did have.
We didn't.
Had assets, but they Lakers also had enough assets.
They also had LeBron James, who's also a member of Clutch Sports.
Yes, that was the biggest one. That was the biggest one.
Coach, we did not have a number 1 draft pick that year.
Yes, y'all did. Zion did not. Number 1 pick that year. Y'all did have the number 1 pick. Zion the number 1 pick.
No, we did not. We had like the number 2 pick. We had like the number 2 pick.
That was the number 1 pick y'all actually had.
No, I promise you, we didn't trade no number 1 pick.
Y'all traded Zion to the Pelicans.
No, that was New Orleans pick they already had, bro.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
It was not.
Yes, it was. But what I'm saying is, Boston had a better draft package than the Lakers did. They did. At that time, the Boston Celtics had a better trade package than the Lakers.
No, Freddie's right. Boston has a better deal to offer, but I think this is more of a testament to the personality of AD. When the agent comes out and says AD is going to sit and teams back off, it's because they believe he would do something childish like that.
Okay.
So I think this is more of a testament to Dame isn't that person. Dame isn't the guy. Now, if he comes out and says it, that's different, right? Because he hasn't said otherwise. But when you say, AD is going to sit out, I think you look at the personality of AD and you're like, oh, he might actually do that. When you're just speculating about Dame sitting out, nothing tells you in Dame's history he's that guy. So unless he comes out and starts putting that out there, I don't think that's something we have to worry about. But Freddie's right. AD did kind of bully his way into where he wanted to go. But you got to be a certain kind of player to do that and have a certain kind of personality. And I'm not saying it didn't work out for him in the end. He got a chip out of it. But Dame has been so concerned about his image and how he's perceived. Right. I just don't see him being the guy that puts out there, well, I'm going to sit out. He only has 2 or 3 years left.
But Chris, sometimes you had to put all your cards on the deck. And I mean, if he really wants to get out of there, I mean, let's not act like he didn't give them time as well, gentlemen. Even this summer, he said, hey, you go out in free agency and you have a good free agency, I'll stay. He gave them the opportunity. I mean, the least they can do is let this man go, and don't let this be sloppy. This trade need to be done this week. This trade need to be done this week. It don't need to get to the off season. It don't need to get to close to the season. We need to get this done. And I'm gonna tell you a sleeper team that I would watch out for. I really don't like the Miami Pickers. I'm like, okay, that'll make y'all maybe the Eastern Conference team, but it ain't. I don't think that's gonna be a team that's gonna win a championship. I think he should go to a team and give them this team 2 years. They'll be ready to go to the San Antonio Spurs. Could you imagine with him and Victor and Pop? And they get, like I said, they give them 2 years, enough time to build out their roster with quality players. They have the cap space. They have draft picks. I believe San Antonio should be an option for Damian Lillard.
Let me just say this on the opportunity he gave the organization. Dame know where he live. He know what team he play for. They could have had $200 million in cap space. Ain't nobody going there. There's nothing that organization could do to better that roster. And they know it. They know it by the Grant signing. That's their big move. That was their big move. If that's your big move, that tells you where you are in the NBA hierarchy. Nobody ever goes to Portland of their own free will. It's one of those dark holes. Nobody goes to Utah of their own free will. Nobody wants to go to Detroit unless they get traded there. It's just what it is. As great as Giannis is, like I said before, Milwaukee is not a destination point for superstar players. It just isn't. So I understand where he would be frustrated, but at the same time, he's been there over 10 years. He know damn well nobody wants to go there. If he could do it over in his own life, in his own career, and he had a choice, he wouldn't have gone to Portland.
And I'm going to answer this Topper's statement. It's not hating on Miami. We all know what Miami represents. We all know what Pat Riley represents, Eric Spoelstra represents, Jimmy Butler. But, I mean, if I'm looking at that team, I'm not looking at it like, okay, they're going to win a championship. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, they have pieces, but they're going to have to get rid of some pieces to get Damian Lillard as well. And are we sure number two guys can lead a team to win a championship? Because essentially that's what you have. Damian Lillard's not a number one option on a championship team, and neither is Jimmy Butler. Credit to Jimmy Butler. When the playoffs come, he do rise. He's like Jello. He rise. I mean, and then you got Bam, but I mean, hey, I'm just not too confident in that team able to compete with the Milwaukee Bucks, able to compete with the Boston Celtics. And we don't even know what Philadelphia is going to do. We're still waiting on that.
They're not going to do nothing. They're not going to do nothing.
Well, I mean, hey, Coach, history shows that they're not going to do anything, but we got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I would trust Pat Riley. I'll trust Pat
Riley. I'll take my opposition with Pat Riley and say I trust in Miami more than I trust Philadelphia. We already know what Philadelphia is at this point, but other than that, so we definitely do get the free agency point. Free agency point, like you said, Freddie, 50 years. Yeah, you can trust I'm pretty sure you can trust Miami more.
Coach, hey, Key, I didn't say Coach said it.
Hey, I'm trying to start some best, Key. All right, so we're gonna get to the good, bad, sleeper, and we're gonna get to the favorite trade during the offseason, during the free agency period. So Freddie, I'm gonna start this off with you.
What's the question?
Oh, good, bad, sleeper, favorite trade in the free agency during the free agency recap.
Man, it's been a lot of things that happened within the last couple of weeks. The Lakers dominated free agency. They won. Rob Pelinka and the Lakers was in their bag. I love the addition of Gabe Vincent. A 3-year. If you would have told me that all he would cost is $11 million, that would be that's crazy to me. I think he's one of the biggest steals in free agency because if we don't forget at the time, you guys, I believe Toronto would have offered him more money. Just think, even though they got Dennis Schroeder, but they was kind of waiting to see what Fred VanVleet was going to do in Houston. So I believe, the Lakers and Rob Pelinka beat him to the punch. So that was a steal. Getting Austin Reeves on a cheap deal was a huge steal because there was teams that were talking about giving this man $100 million, and the Lakers are going to match it. So that's still D'Angelo Russell, $18 million. I like what the Sacramento Kings done as well. They added more firepower. You didn't lose anybody. You bring in a forward, stretch the floor that's going to make that offense even more elite than it is. So we can expect Sacramento to be still where they are, if not even improve even more. So I like that team, and got to give credit to the Boston Celtics. They was able to go out and get Porzingis. They got a forward, so to replace Grant Williams. So I believe they'll still be, relevant in the East. But I'm very surprised. My biggest disappointment is the Phoenix Suns. I have a couple of disappointments. The Phoenix Suns, and I see what they're doing. And yes, they look good on paper, but I'm going to hold that same energy that the media did, that everybody did when the Lakers did this. We got Russ. We signed a lot of old guys. I mean, Eric Gordon, he's past his prime. I mean, what is Darren Collinson? They talking about bringing that dude back. I mean, I didn't even know he was still trying to play basketball. I mean, I thought he was retired. I thought he was trying to come on the Coffee and Sports Morning Show and drink some coffee and eat some donuts and talk sports with Mo and Doug and Chris. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just being honest. They was losers to me. They don't really make sense. I would have tried to trade DeAndre Ayton to get to fill out that roster more with more quality role players that's ready to impact now, or at least get some draft picks. Yeah, Eric Gordon. Yeah, I mean, hey, Eric Gordon, he didn't look that good in LA and with the Clippers. The best of Eric Gordon is just about over. Let's just be honest. I mean, just gotta be honest. And then my second loser is, and I know Key's gonna kill me. Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of all ages.
I agree with
of all ages.
I'm there.
Of all ages, the Philadelphia 76ers just got their Magic Johnson, just got their Stephen Curry, their Damian Lillard, their John Stockton, their Isaiah Thomas. They got their future point guard and Pat Beverly. Really? That's all that you can do? I mean, and we have a guy in the chat that goes off and off about Philadelphia. I'm not going to bring his name up to enter the chat, but I mean, deep down, he's really hurt. He's really depressed. That's the only thing. I'm going to tell you, I'm Joel Embiid. You got to get me the hell up out of Philadelphia. Because how many times that we bring in guys that we lose? It started with Ben Simmons. Now it's James Harden. I mean, get me the hell out of there. That organization is cursed. They on a 50-year drought. They are irrelevant. Daryl Morey should be fired. He should have been fired when they hired him. They shouldn't even hired him. I mean, then they tried to blame everything on Tobias Harris, which he had a good season this year.
I tried to say the same thing.
But they want to but Philadelphia fans want to blame him. That's why they need to stay at the cookie crumble. I mean, that organization is just a hot mess. They are a hot mess.
Go ahead, Chris.
Freddie, saying the Lakers won free agency is like walking into the club and looking at a bunch of 4s, and then you see 1-6, and you're like, damn, she's gorgeous. Look at what happened in free agency. Ain't nobody went anywhere. 2 people, 2 of the top 20 free agents moved. Dante DiVincenzo went to a Knicks team. Who the hell cares? That's not an impact move. And then you had Van Fleet going to Houston, which is what it is. That's all that really happened. Now, credit to the Lakers. I think they got better. I think that they retooled their smaller pieces, and they took what was already a Western Conference team, finals team, and they made it better. So I agree that the Lakers won free agency, but look at the competition. There wasn't much out there to beat when it came to winning free agency because nothing else happened. And as far as Bradley Beal goes, what more do you want from a team than to go and get one of the best players available and put them on your roster and hope for the best? I agree they're top heavy. I agree they look great on paper. I agree that team still has some flaws. But don't say it's like the Lakers getting Westbrook, because Bradley Beal is a much better player than Russell Westbrook.
Chris,
much better.
Chris, I didn't say that.
He fits the team better. It's a better move. So I understand the hate the Lakers got when Westbrook came over, but it's not the same situation for Bradley Beal. As
Chris, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Bradley Beal because I know it's a perfect fit. I'm talking about the supporting cast. People talk about the Lakers supporting cast because they brought in Russ, who they owed so much money to. They couldn't go out and get quality role players. So that's what I'm just comparing the role players.
But I think the Suns are a much better team than the Lakers, though, at that time. If you look at their pieces, their star pieces are better than what the Lakers' star pieces were. So I think the Phoenix situation is going to be better than what the LA situation was. As far as the rest of free agency goes, like I said, the Lakers won free agency, but it wasn't that hard to do. The Suns made some nice moves. As far as who lost free agency, I'm going to go with Dallas because you're still stuck with Kyrie. Any team that has Kyrie where he is your first, second, or third option, you lost. So Dallas is going to be in trouble this season. I'm also going to go with the Denver Nuggets. You are NBA champions, which is amazing. That's fantastic. Obviously, there isn't a lot you can add to your team during free agency because you don't need much. You just want a title. But you lost two big pieces. You lost Bruce Brown and you lost Jeff Green. And you may not think that's a lot, but what that is depth. And you need some depth coming off your championship run, and they lost that. So I'm a little upset with how Denver did that there. And then, of course, you got Miami, who's just wishing for Damian Lillard to show up. Does it happen? We don't know. You got the 76ers, who are hoping they can bring in some sort of a haul for James Harden. I don't know what they think they're going to get for that man. I agree. Joel Embiid needs to be saying something to someone. He's such an outgoing, flamboyant guy on the court as far as his personality goes. Is he really sitting there behind the scenes being like, oh, this is cool. I'm okay with this. Like, literally, your team's a circus. Your team's a circus, and they keep telling you you're going to win a championship. The only difference is you actually have the ability to get good players in Philadelphia, unlike Portland, and yet you can't keep them in the room. So I don't know what the heck is going on in Philadelphia.
All right.
Hold on, Doug. Chris, I don't like how you come on here and you want to give the Lakers a compliment, but you take a stab at them at the same time. I mean, I don't like that.
If they earned it, they earned it.
No. You talk about, the Lakers won free agency, but they didn't really have much to compete. Like, man, just say they won it. Leave that part out.
Go ahead, Mo.
Well, I think that the Mavs lost free agency too. I just didn't. I thought they should have really worked anything within the power of the front office to maybe orchestrate a sign and trade. You're never going to get back equal value for Kyrie Irving. But if you get back competent, really good role players, which they had before, that got them to a Western Conference Finals, Luka's shown you if he's the brightest star in the room and he's just the guy, he seems to be a lot more comfortable in that role as to sharing the spotlight. It didn't work with Porzingis. It's not working with Kyrie, and I don't think it ultimately will work with Kyrie. So I thought Dallas lost. On the Philly thing, I'll say this. I can't say they lost for this reason. I don't know what they're going to get back for James Harden. I don't even think Philly fans are looking for a star back for James Harden. I think they're just looking for guys that can fit a certain role and help them win. If the deal is a real deal and they go through with a move that involves the Clippers and you get back a Norman Powell can actually start. That's a guy that can drop 20 points a night for you. So if you get back that kind of guy, along with a Terrence Mann and some other pieces, no, they wouldn't have as much star power, but I think they'd be a better, more balanced basketball team. That also gives you some younger legs because let's face it, James Harden is still a good player, but he no longer has that burst he once had at his peak. So I don't know what Philly's going to look like when we talk about roster construction because the Harden shoe hasn't really dropped yet. I thought Boston getting Porzingis, I think that's a good move for them. People look at it and go, why would you get Porzingis? And I'm like, the obvious reason is now they can actually play pace and space because Porzingis is a threat from deep. He's a threat from mid-range. Porzingis will allow Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum more space because you could always shade when Williams is on the floor. You can shade to a degree with Al. Al can shoot the three, but he's not nearly as mobile as he once used to be. Don't forget, Porzingis is 7'4". When he catches the ball at the elbow, he can turn and face you up, and his jump shot from 16 feet in, it's money. So I think that Boston got better. That doesn't mean they're going to win a title, but I think they just made their team more diverse, and I think they made them harder to cover. So I like what Boston did. On the Phoenix situation, when you look at what Phoenix did in free agency, with the amount of money they had, because they had next to no money, I actually thought they did a solid job of building out their roster. Eric Gordon, he didn't have to be in his prime. He only has to be a functional, impactful, and effective role player. And I think at this stage in his career, he's still that. Aaron Gordon could play. He can play the two. He's capable of bringing the ball up because he's a combo guard. I like the moves that Phoenix made. I'm not saying championship, but when you've got Bill, when you've got Booker and KD, you don't need more stars. You just need very good role players that can impact what the stars do. The stars are going to get you open shots. You have to have competent people around them, and I think that's what Phoenix has added. And whatever you think about him, they didn't have to give Aiden up. They still got Aiden. So I don't think Phoenix lost at all. I think they did really well. I think the Nuggets lost because when you lose a Bruce Brown, I get that he's a role player, but he's more than that. He's your energy guy. He's your guy that is fearless. He's the guy that can drop 12 or 15 on a given night. He can lock up other teams' top bigs or wings. Like Bruce Brown is a big loss for Denver. I know they have Christian Braun coming up, and I like Christian Braun, but Bruce Brown has proven he can impact games on both ends of the floor. I think that's a big loss. It hurts your depth, but it also hurts the fact that he was kind of like their utility guy. Bruce Brown could do everything asked of him. They had him playing little big man and playing center at some points, and he could bring the ball up as a point guard. A guy like that, I would have found a way to give him the money to keep him. So the world champs are still the world champs, but they're a little less deeper. They're a little less talented. And that could be the difference between them repeating or getting knocked off in the second or first round of the playoffs. They're a different team now because of the loss of Bruce Brown. They're a different team because of the loss of the leadership that Jeff Green provided on the locker room and on the court. So I think Denver lost.
I have a couple of rebuttals. I'm going to start with the latest one. I understand why Denver didn't bring him back. I wouldn't have brought him back neither.
I did too.
I'm not paying him $45 million. I mean,
$45 million just to bring him back. I ain't doing it.
There's a point where we have it's business, like you guys said. And I mean, it's just like with Austin Reeves. I was against the Lakers. They were going to offer him $100 million. I said, no, don't do that. He's not worth that. Bruce Brown is a great player. He's a great player, but he's a role player. And you can fill holes with role players. Let's not forget. Yes, they got Christian, but they also got KCP, a guy that can play a similar role, a guy that can play tough nose defense.
Contracts, Reggie. I'm just saying, if we're doing that way, Jeremy Grant's a role player. We're getting $160 million. Dylan Brooks is a role player at best. He got $80 million. I don't think Dylan Brooks is a better basketball player than Bruce Brown. I don't think anybody thinks he's a better player than Bruce Brown.
Guess what?
That man got a raise, and he was horrible. He got a raise being horrible. So I don't understand that. You can't tell me if you have competent. You know how hard it is to fill out a roster. I think you do everything in your power to keep a championship team together, to keep key pieces together. The idea that you can go, Bruce was good for us, but I think we'll be fine without him. That's going to come back to bite.
But Mo, that you know what it make Denver look like? A legit organization that knows how to handle business. And one thing I know about Joker is that he's going to make it easier for everybody else. So I'm not worried about they have another guy coming up. I'm not worried about Bruce Brown.
You got them repeating?
They have a chance to, yes.
Well, I'll say this. Ultimately, we'll find out in the playoffs. They're either going to be the repeat champions and their general manager is going to be the smartest guy in the room, or they're going to not repeat and people are going to say, should have kept Bruce Brown.
And then my second rebuttal, and it's going to Christian you because I'm tired of the slander. I really am. And Coach knows this best. I've been very, very critical of Kyrie Irving. Okay? But let's not sit up here and act like he's the problem in Dallas. And let's not act like Dallas have not struggled to get anybody to take Mark Cuban's money. They've struggled since the days of Dirk Nowitzki down there. I mean, when Dirk was there, nobody wanted to go to Dallas. For some reason, even though it's a no tax income place state, still they can't get nobody to go to Dallas. I don't know why. But to sit up here to say that Kyrie Irving is the problem, that's blasphemy. It really is. And I've been very critical of Kyrie Irving.
Is
I'm
Kyrie
Mark
the
Cuban,
solution?
He's part of it. He's part of it.
He's part of it.
I think he's part of the solution, but I don't think. I just think Mark Cuban let go so many defensive players. They can do anything they want on the offensive side of the ball. They can score, but the problem is you have no defense behind Luka or Kyrie. You have no defensive purpose behind them.
If I'm Mark Cuban, I'm going to Luka. Hey, in order for you to win, it's time for you to sacrifice. Every superstar had to sacrifice to win. We seen Dwayne Wade. When LeBron got there, Dwayne Wade was probably he was up there and one of the best players in the game. But he knew he had to sacrifice his game in order for it to work. So Luka, why can't you? And then free agency isn't done. They're talking about, I've read a report that they want to get Thibault, good defender. They want to go out and get Grant Williams. He's a pretty good defender. So all they have to do.
Who's trying to get Thibault?
Dallas. And I love those picks.
Can you stay on the floor?
Yeah, I agree, but I love those picks. But you just show that you're trying to balance the roster. Yes, you need offense, but you do need defense. But to sit up here to blame Kyrie is crazy. Because ever since he became a member of the Dallas Mavericks, it's been about playing basketball. He hasn't went on a rampage of not wanting to play. But ever since he's been at Dallas, he's been committed to playing, and he's been available outside of he got hurt. Injuries is part of basketball. But we can't sit up here and blame Kyrie Irving. We gotta put some blame towards Luka Doncic. And I love Luka. I love me some Luka. But man, he gotta sacrifice.
And I agree with that. I just don't think Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, their skill sets, they don't match. They don't fit. I don't even think their mindsets fit. As great as Luka is as an individual talent, I don't know if he's a leader. I know Kyrie's not a leader. So they're devoid of leadership to begin with. Just starting out there. Amongst their two best players, there's no leadership there. So I don't know how they ultimately turn it around to be the goal is to be a title contender, right? Not just to be relevant, but
they brought Seth Curry, and I think Seth Curry can help out in that aspect.
He's a vet. But is he the kind of vet that warrants the respect of a Luka, where Luka's going to go, well, if Seth Curry said so, I need to dial it up a notch. Like I just don't know, because what I've seen of Luka is Luka likes to play a certain style of basketball that works for him. And look, the Mavs have had some success playing that way. I just think when you have two ball dominant players who don't compete on the defensive end of the floor, and they're both not leaders, I think you're going to really literally repeat what happened last season. They're going to score. They're probably going to be one of the – I have them in the top 7 in the West, but it wouldn't shock me. I think they'll be in the play-in again, because I don't think they're going to be a very good basketball team.
Mo, can I ask you a question? And I'm going to make my statement to ask the question. I believe the Dallas Mavericks should make a lineup change. I think it's time to put Luka at the 3, Kyrie at the point, and you can run off guard. I believe Luka got the size and he can do it. Number 2, I'm gonna ask the question: do you think you have to have players as leaders to win? Because I mean, let's not forget they have. I'm just asking. I don't know. Because you do have Jason Kidd as a coach. I believe he can be that leader that they need.
I think you have to have leadership on the court too. I think there's got to be somebody that everybody's willing to follow their lead. They don't have to be a rah guy and talk in the huddle, but maybe lead by example. You don't have to talk to lead. I'm just saying I've watched Luka. I've seen the numbers. He's an incredible player. He's going to get his. He'll be all NBA again next season. I don't know how he and Kyrie together will impact winning. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, one thing I'm gonna tell you, Freddie. if you was running the Dallas Mavericks organization, you put Luka at the 3, you'll be fired the next morning. Because he ain't playing off the ball. You'll be fired the very next morning.
Because Luka's gonna demand you get traded.
Luka's gonna
the coach. Get rid of the coach.
Out of Dallas real quick. He ain't playing it. He needs the ball. He's not playing off that ball like that. He needs the ball. Now it's just not. I'm not gonna say it can't work. I just don't believe Dallas Mavericks have the personnel. I think Luka and Kyrie can do enough to get them in a playoff run. They're gonna be able to score. I think they're gonna be able to score. I just think they don't. For right now, they don't got the defensive personnel outside of Derek Lively, the rookie that's protecting the rim. They don't got. And Steph Curry, he's a good veteran to have. He's a shooter, but he's not a great defensive player. I think they need defensive wings. If they can get defensive wings, I think that's where they're gonna be better. They're gonna be better. They're gonna be better at that point. But I still think they're borderline 7 seed. They're borderline 6 seed. I think.
But I think it's crazy to blame Kyrie Christian, though. I really do.
No,
I
agree.
If anything, blame Mark Cuban.
Yes, that's what I blame. I blame Mark Cuban.
Can we all just pause for a minute and give Kyrie Irving a round of applause for playing 22 games somewhere and not screwing up the damn franchise? That's the line we're setting this morning. This man is on his 4th franchise. He's destroyed 3 other ones, and you're happy because he played 22 games and it's just all about basketball for him for 22 games? If this team was all set, if they had a defense, which they don't, if they had role players, which they don't, if they had a complete team, that's when Kyrie implodes. There's so much chaos in Dallas right now that he looks normal. That's what's happening. The team is such a mess. They don't have offense outside of those two. They can't stop a nosebleed. And you're like, well, Kyrie's doing his thing. That's because it's so chaotic. He looks like he's competent. Second point, you want to compliment the Denver Nuggets for taking care of business when you think the Portland Trailblazers should bend over backwards and send Dame somewhere that's not going to benefit the organization? You can't have it both ways. You can't compliment Denver for doing
not just
business.
backwards. Chris, not just backwards. They should bend over forwards, backwards, side to side, up and down, all around. Yeah.
I love a morning with Freddie here. This is my best morning so far, guys. Let's go.
If Portland does everything he wants, that GM he will be an interim GM because he'll be a fired GM.
And let's speak on Kyrie Irving because, like I said, I hate that I got to defend Kyrie Irving of all people because I've been very critical of that man. But I'll say he's only did 2 franchises, not 3. Maybe Boston, 2. He didn't do Cleveland like that. Cleveland got rid of him, but they won a championship, so that made up for the turmoil.
He actually threatened the team he was gonna have foot surgery just to get up out of Cleveland.
That's why I say the championship kind of make up for it.
Speaking of which, we talk about trades. Does anybody remember when the Kyrie trade went down? What the buzz was for the next week? It was Cleveland fleeced the Celtics. Remember that? They fleeced them. They got these picks. They got back Jay Crowder and they got Isaiah Thomas. They killed them. They fleeced them. Bron's about to go on another title run. And we all know how that actually worked out.
They were traded at the trade deadline. They always traded at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, remember, he brought D Wade to Cleveland. He had like a reunion of all his friends, all his role players, and LeBron got sick of all of them by the trade deadline.
But I just think it's real crazy. And Chris, I love your passion. I love it. I really, really do. But let's stop blaming Kyrie. Blame Mark Cuban. Do better, Mark. I mean, he do all this talking. He's in the vocal point. We see him. He do all this talking just like Jerry Jones. The Dallas Mavericks they're just as like the Cowboys almost. What the only thing is they don't have the success like the Cowboys had back in the day. Because I mean, Mark Cuban does all this talking, and you would imagine a guy like him, he should be able to get somebody to take his money. Somebody.
Hey, they don't have the success, Freddie, but you know what the Mavs have? They have the most recent title won in Dallas.
That's true. But what I'm talking about is like, can you explain to me why they can't get anybody to take their money? I'm just wondering. Like, what's the problem? And this is me. Hey, and we can't blame Luka on this because this was before Luka. This is when they had Dirk.
Hey, before we get to the next topic, Freddie, I think you made the wrong comparison to Dallas. I think the Philadelphia Sixers is the Dallas Cowboys of the Eastern Conference. So I think you made the wrong comparison to that part. Right?
I wanna just there's a tweet that's popped on my phone.
Go ahead.
Named Damian Lillard. I want to read this. Blazers insider at Aaron J. Fentress says Damian Lillard and his agent could force his way to Miami. And this is the quote, let's say a team step up with a Durant-like package, and Dame and his agent tell that team, dude, we're not coming to play for you. That'd be franchise suicide for a team to make that trade.
Listen, until it happens, I agree with you. I agree that Dame's going to do what he can, but what did that quote say? His agent is talking about it. I need Dame to come out and own that. If Dame comes out and is like, listen, I sacrificed 11 years of my life in this damn city. You're going to send me where I want to go and do the right thing. If he comes out and says that, all the power to him.
It could be just the agent because AD didn't come out and say the agent. Rich Paul said it for AD.
But the difference is that AD has that personality where I think people believed it. I don't know if people believe Dame would actually do that. And I think that's the hurdle Dame has to overcome. He's been such a good guy and so concerned about his brand. Because what happens? Let's say he does go to Miami and people are like, oh, were you really going to sit out? He's going to be like, no, just talk. It's just talk. So until he kind of owns that, I think it may not carry the cachet that he wants it to. But you're right, Freddie. The fact that it's already coming out, it could be something.
All right. So I'm going to start with you on this one, Mo. Is Bill Belichick really as good as everyone thinks, or is it just, it was Tom Brady basically, or it wasn't actually Tom Brady?
You mean in terms of being a great coach?
Yeah, being a great coach. Yeah,
I think Belichick's a great coach. I mean, he's the Patriots have struggled the last few years, but for the most obvious reason. This is a quarterback-driven league. If you are weak at the very best position in the NFL, the most important position, you're not going to be that good. I don't care if Jesus is your coach. It's not going to happen. They don't have a franchise quarterback. And so right now they're trying to win with smoke and mirrors and surviving off of special teams and defense. But I don't think this changes where Bill Belichick should rank as an all-time coach. He is a great coach. Like, think about this. Before he was a head coach, he was the defensive coordinator of those Giants Super Bowl winning teams. Like, Bill Belichick knows how to coach football. He definitely knows how to coach defense. So I understand how they've looked the last couple of seasons, but you're going to look that way as long as you don't have a – look at all the other teams that are not very good. They don't have quarterbacks. They don't have a quarterback that can take them but so far. Tennessee Titans have one of the most dominant running backs in football. But because their quarterback is just a guy, they can only be but so good. They have a ceiling for success. Their best ceiling is make the playoffs, but they can't go beyond that because they have average to below average quarterback play. So I don't think the struggles of the last two seasons should wash away what he had been able to do over the last 15, 16 years. Yes, having the greatest quarterback of all time, the most successful quarterback of all time, the most accomplished quarterback of all time, that's a major hit to lose him. But go back and look at those early Super Bowl wins. That was just as much about Belichick and that defense and their special teams as it was Tom Brady. Tom Brady became the man later in that run, but he was upheld by that defense and Bill Belichick. Don't forget, one of those Super Bowl wins they won had one of those seasons they won. They had a 1,700-yard running back, Corey Dillon. They played through Corey Dillon. Tom Brady ran play action pass off Corey Dillon. So I don't think Bill Belichick is any less a coach. I don't think that the shine is worn off on his career. I'll say this. I think ultimately Bill Belichick will turn the Patriots around. But the first step in doing that You got to get a quarterback.
Chris?
So before Belichick becomes a head coach with the Patriots, he's a head coach with Cleveland, right? He goes 36-44 as a head coach in Cleveland. He wins one playoff game. He goes to New England. His first season in New England, he goes 5-11. There's already talk about him not coming back. There's already talk about if he doesn't do something in season 2, he's gone. Bledsoe goes down. Brady comes up. The rest is history. He goes 219-64 with Tom Brady as his quarterback. Now, in that season, and this is a caveat because I get hit with this all the time. They're like, well, Chris, Brady missed a season and they went 11-5. You're right. But let's be honest about that. Brady missed a season after they went undefeated in the regular season. And the Patriots had probably the best roster in football. And they won 11 games and didn't win the division without Brady. So I'll give you, he had 11-5 record that year without Brady, but Brady was still around. He was still talking to Matt Castle. He was still in the court. It's not like Brady disappeared off the calendar for an entire year. Without Brady, 3 years, he's 25-25. He's played 10 seasons in his career without Tom Brady, 7 losing seasons, 1 playoff win. I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. I'm saying that his career is forever linked to Tom Brady.
No disagreement.
When he doesn't have Tom Brady, it's not that he's not winning championships. He's not winning. He doesn't win games without Tom Brady. He's not relevant without Tom Brady. And look at what they've done. Even the last few years Brady was in New England, look at what he's done offensively. Nothing. He can't develop offensive talent. He can't draft offensive talent. He can't even put a competent coach to direct the offense. He has defensive coordinators running his offense. And yeah, some stuff has come out that's more about him not liking Mac Jones. You are in a quarterback-driven league, and you're going to handcuff your quarterback because you don't like him? How old are you that you're going to do that to Mac? What is your problem? They just locked up Devontae freaking Parker for 3 years. You know what Devontae Parker's stat was last year? He was dead last in the NFL in receivers who can separate. Juju Smith-Schuster can't separate. You're bringing in a bunch of offensive weapons that don't work in the NFL in 2020. And why? Why? Because you want to win with defense. Because you want to be the old ball coach. He was a great defensive coordinator. Elite defensive coordinator. His defenses in New England were phenomenal. Bill Belichick has not transitioned with the transition of the NFL. If he didn't have Tom Brady and he had a Dak Prescott as a quarterback, I don't think he would have lasted this long in New England. Not a chance. Because offensively, he doesn't have it, and he really has never had it. And now in 2023 and 2022 and 2021, we're seeing that when you don't have an A-plus quarterback in there, basically running the ship for you, Bill isn't all that much. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He is a good coach. Am I saying that he's elite top 5? I think he has to win something without Brady to be there.
Hey, Coach, I don't have to say another word because Chris said everything that I said a few weeks when I had Bill Belichick on the hot seat. He said everything that I said. I mean, he's old. He's outdated. Hey, you know what the difference between him and Greg Popovich? Greg Popovich actually transitioned to the new style of game. Remember, Greg Popovich wasn't really that fond of 3-point shots, and all of a sudden, hey. I absolutely agree with you, Chris.
Hold on a minute while you're using that Pop analogy. What has Pop been since Duncan and Ginobili and Parker left? I mean, I'm just saying if we're doing that, how great a coach has Pop been since they left?
He's been a great coach, as a matter of fact.
He's been a great coach. They've been a lottery team. He's been a great coach.
Listen, Mo.
If we're going to go by the standard that you guys put out there, he's coached lottery teams.
But listen, Mo.
And guess what? That might very well end this season, but he had to be really, really bad for a really long time.
No, they wasn't bad for a very, very
Were they bad
long
last
time.
year? Were they bad last year?
Yes.
Were they bad the year before? Yes. Were they bad the year before? Yes.
No,
yes.
he was in the playoffs.
No, they were in the playing tournament. They were actually in the playing
Yeah,
tournament.
playing tournament. Listen,
They're bad. He
No.
has
They've
not
been
done
bad
nothing
the
without
past 2
talent.
years. They've been bad the past 2 years. They were
Right.
actually in the
What?
tournament.
That's 80. So that's 82 and 82, where he's done nothing. I'm just saying, a lot of great coaches aren't so great when they don't have talent. That's just a fact. A lot of great coaches.
That is a good comparison because
talent does matter.
remember,
hold on, Mo. Hold on,
matter.
Mo. I'm not gonna let you get. Hold on, Mo. Listen. I'm not gonna let you get away with that.
Well, you can't.
And
You can't.
they was in the
change
playoffs. They was in the playoffs in 20, not to like 2 years ago, bro. So
Well,
what are we talking about?
that was a playing
Freddie,
tournament.
that was
They were in
2
a
years
playing
ago.
tournament, not
Freddie,
playoffs.
what did he do since then? What has he done?
But what I'm saying
I mean,
is,
Belichick was pretty good
it's
4
more
years
than
ago.
just.
But here we
Hold
are,
on, Mo. Hold
3
on, Mo.
years later.
Hold on, Mo. Let me explain my point. Hold on. I'm not gonna let you come up here and put no slander on Greg Popovich's name. Talking about what he done.
I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling the truth.
You're not telling the truth.
If I was wrong, guess what? Victor Wembanyama, he wouldn't be on the Spurs.
You're wrong,
Big
though.
Vic
You're
wouldn't
wrong.
be on the Spurs. You know why he's on the Spurs?
You're wrong.
They were a really bad team.
No, even though they might be a bad team,
a horrible team.
They're not horrible. They're not horrible.
When you're good enough to get the number one pick,
Spurs
horrible.
Game, if you watch the Spurs, you can see one thing. You see an identity. You see those guys. They compete hard. They're fundamental. They just haven't had the star come in there yet. But now that they're about to get a star, you're about to see a lot of guys be different. You're about to see the team go and run.
They try hard.
Hey, one thing about Pop is when you talk about developing young talent, he's done that in San Antonio. We can't say that about we can't talk about that about Bill Belichick because he's developing players. We see that with Greg Popovich, you're developing young players.
Isn't your record your record? They were lottery teams last year.
Records don't mean anything, brother.
Yeah, I wouldn't say.
Wait a minute, it don't mean anything. Are we talking about Belichick's record? It don't mean anything. Either it matters or it doesn't matter. You can't have it both
very
ways.
personal and you're very passionate about Bill Belichick.
Comparison is spot on.
If you look, it is a still a comparison though. You look at Greg Popovich was literally in the same situation that Bill Belichick was. The year that the lockout season, Greg Popovich was literally going to get fired until they got the number one pick, until Tim Duncan got there. Literally to Tim Duncan. So you can literally say the same thing. He was on the ropes until Tim Duncan got there in 2000. What they do, they end up winning the NBA championship with Tim Duncan when David Robinson was deteriorating, and they had a Mario Elie who they got back in the deal. So you can literally say actually the same thing about Greg Popovich. He was on the ropes until Tim Duncan was drafted. So that is some truth in that.
What I'm saying is, Coach, everybody talks about the great thing that Greg Popovich have. He's great with developing young talent. He's have a great eye for talent. And he has not lost that. He's still great in that. And we can't just say, oh, he ain't been the player, he ain't won that. No, I'm not even talking about them, Bill. You did say that. You did say that.
You did say that, though. You really
did say that.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Mo, it's the thing, simple fact that nobody go to San Antonio. That's the problem. Nobody go to San Antonio.
Now we got excuses?
Nobody on the roster.
They develop young talent. They don't need to go.
Mo, yes, that is a problem. If nobody goes to San Antonio, they can't win.
I rest my case.
No, you didn't rest your case. No.
Hey, why is Big Vic in San Antonio? Because they were horrible.
It wasn't that they were horrible. They were to get no other star player down in San Antonio. That's why.
They were bad. They were really bad.
They were very bad.
They were very bad. Even when their best players were playing, Freddie, San Antonio was really bad. They were really bad.
If your team is struggling,
I understand
you want to lose the streak,
but
you look at the schedule and find the Spurs, you good to go.
Y'all, I'm just trying to sit over here and take some of that shine off Bill Belichick, and now you all want to take the shine off Pop? Jeez, let me drop one more thing on you. Let's talk real quick about Andy Reid. You know what Andy Reid's done in 19 seasons without Patrick Mahomes? 14 winning seasons. That's what a good head coach is.
Oh,
you win in whatever.
You don't tell me on Andy Reid. Andy Reid's been consistently, but that's different.
That's different. We talking about Bill Belichick and Pop.
I think I would give Bill a little more credit if he could shift with at least putting together a competent offensive side of the ball. I agree. If you made him a defensive coordinator right now in the NFL and that was his only job, he'd be easily top 3 at it, hands down. But when you are a head coach and you are responsible for 2 sides of the ball and you are actively doing things that are destroying one side of your ball, making Matt Patricia your offensive coordinator, icing out Mac Jones, not talking to who's supposed to be your franchise quarterback, what are you doing? Like, what game are you playing where you think that's winning football? I get it. Your relationship with Tom Brady, it was hit or miss. I get it. Tom Brady probably had more power during his run than you did as a head coach. And then you see Mac Jones come in with his Mac Jones swagger, and you see him saying things about the offense, and he's the future in New England, and he puts up some numbers in his rookie season, and now you're like, oh no, here we go, Tom Brady part 2. I'm not dealing with this kid, outflanking me in New England. So what do? I'm going to show him Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator. I'm not going to talk to you. Come on now. Come on. That's not elite coach stuff right there.
Oh, I'm not arguing that point, but are you saying you think Mac Jones is a franchise quarterback? Because I don't care how much swagger he got. At best, he a game manager.
I think Mac Jones is their future for the next 5 or 6 years, and you got to do what you have, right? Work with what you got, and he's got Mac Jones. Mac Jones can win games. Mac Jones can get you to the playoffs, and he has, right? But Mac Jones is a guy where you got to put him in the best position to be successful. And if you do that, you might compete for a division. You might win a wild card game. I think that's where Mac Jones is.
So Mac Jones is Dak Prescott, right? Is that what you're saying?
I would put him a step below Dak. I'm not going to do Dak that dirty.
It sounds like they're the same guy. What you're describing, that's what I'm hearing.
But you're right though. Look at Dak. You got to put the best pieces around Dak. You got to put Dak in the best position to be successful, and Dallas does that to the best of their ability. They give him elite receivers. They give him a great offensive line. They create a system for Dak to thrive in. What the hell is Bill doing for Mac Jones besides not talking to the kid? He's a grumpy old man. He wants Mac Jones off his lawn. Unfortunately, Mac Jones is your starting quarterback.
Unfortunately.
So I'm gonna start with you on this one, Freddie. This time you get to go. Yeah. So you get to go first on this, Freddie. Which record will stand longer? Emmitt Smith being the all-time leading rusher, or LeBron James being having an all-time scoring record? Which record will stand longer?
Emmitt Smith's by far. I mean, do we see how quick running backs go through their career nowadays? I mean, the wear and tear on their bodies. I mean, it just takes a lot to really preserve their bodies. I don't see us having a rusher unless the game just get even more softer, where they make the running backs more durable. And that's not no discredit on LeBron's record, because we know that by the time it's going to be in the 40s by the time he retire. But I mean, if they're talking about adding a 4-point line, a 5-point line in the game, and it's going to be hard, because I'm going to tell you, you got to have somebody that's going to be durable as long as LeBron was. But I think that record had more of a chance to be broken than Emmitt Smith's, me personally.
Chris?
And by the way, y'all didn't think I was gonna go that route. See, Mo thought I was here. You better go LeBron. The coach thought I was gonna go that way.
I actually did think that.
I agree with Freddie, and a lot of that has to do with the devaluing of the running back position in the NFL and the longevity of the running back position. Like Freddie said, even your top tier backs in the league, you're getting 5, 6, maybe 7 years out of them, and that's it. I think Emmett played for 14, 15 years. The man rushed for just over 18,000 yards. The closest to Emmitt Smith right now is Derrick Henry, 8,335 yards. The man is 10,000 yards behind him. And what other back in the league right now are you looking at that you're like, oh yeah, he's got a chance to put up numbers every season? You need to average like 1,233 yards a year for 15 straight years to get into that Emmett territory. You just don't see that in the league today. Now, I don't think there's a much better chance in the NBA, but there's a slightly better chance. I think, you look at Durant. Durant's 13th all time. He's not going to get there because of injuries and age. But if that man never got hurt, if that man, his body was a little bit stronger, that might be a conversation, 5 or 6 years from now. Obviously, he's going to come nowhere close to that. And then after Durant, the next guy isn't even in the conversation. So I think it's more likely to get, sometime in the history of the NBA, in the future of it, to get another player that can play for 20 years, and maybe he can make a run at LeBron. I don't even think you're going to get a running back in the league that's going to last for 15 years. And that's why I'm going to go with the running back side of it.
Mo?
So I posed the question originally, and I already had my mind made up that Emmett's record's not going to get broken. But yes, durability matters. The devaluation of running backs matters, but also the way the game is played. It's a pass-happy league. Most teams throw the ball 40-plus times. Like, it's a pass-happy league. There's a more premium on wide receivers than there are running backs. So that's why I think Emmett's record is safe. There's not going to be another running back, not in this current NFL. Maybe Derrick Henry will finish with 12, 13,000 yards tops, but he's not even a young back himself right now. So that's a stretch. So just because of the way the game is played, I think Emmitt Smith's record is safe for a very, very long. I'll say this: it's not getting broken in our lifetime.
And even teams that do run the ball a lot, they have 2 or 3 backs. You don't even see, outside of like a Derrick Henry, you don't even see teams with a traditional one running back. He's taking the ball 25 times a game. If you have teams that run it 25 times a game, they're doing it with 2 or 3 backs. So now you're looking at 8 carries, 9 carries as the most carries, and that's not going to get you there.
Hey, Chris, where's Adrian Peterson on that list? Just curious, because as long as he played, and I know even though it's later stage, he wasn't
13,000, 12,000.
He was just under 15,000. He's fifth right now behind Barry Sanders.
Gotcha.
He's done.
And that's the crazy thing about AP. And I know he's not chasing stats, and that probably ain't important to him, but he's only like 250 yards behind Barry Sanders. The fact that he couldn't latch on like somewhere and just try to put, and I get it, maybe that's not his thing, but he was that close to 4th all time.
Maybe that makes Barry Sanders even more impressive.
Oh, it does.
Because he walked away. I think he had like 1,400 yards his last year. Like, he walked away. Easily probably a guy that could give you a couple more years at 1,400 yards or more, and he just walked away. So that makes him even more impressive.
He walked away. I believe he played how many seasons? About 9, 10 seasons.
Yeah.
He walked away pretty early from the game. So
let's go to the next topic, Coach. I'm ready for this one.
Let's go. Well, you just saw one of the dudes you just brought up. You just actually brought up. So this is basically prime who you guys are taking. So since go ahead, Mo. Reggie Bush, Zeke, AP, or Barkley in college in their prime. Who you're taking?
Oh, I'm taking Reggie Bush. I mean, I'm a USC guy anyway. I'm taking Reggie Bush all day. Like, he was a human highlight reel. Special teams, out the backfield, in the passing game. Reggie Bush was just electric, man. Like, he looked like Gale. If you ever saw old film of Gale Sayers, that looked like Reggie Bush in college. Like, every time the guy got the ball, he was a threat to take it 80 yards. And more times than not, he did. So I think the other guys are more dominant backs, but I'm talking about in terms of his impact in college football, in his very, very best, I'll take Reggie Bush.
Chris, who you say?
I like me some Reggie Bush, but I'm going Ricky Williams.
What
Ricky Williams did on the field in college, he didn't have the highlights in the same essence as Reggie because he wasn't on special teams and he didn't quite have that finesse move that Reggie had. But Ricky was just, I'm going to run you over, and that's the highlight. Like, and we saw some of that during that time, but we didn't see it the way we saw it with Ricky. Run, Ricky, run, baby. And I don't know what he put up. That 1 year in Houston, in Texas, I think he had like 2,200 yards or something ridiculous like that. So for me, it's Ricky Williams.
All right, Fred.
I'm going with Mr. Tree Stump himself, Saquon Barkley. I don't care what nobody said, but I love Saquon. I was so happy when my team drafted him. You talking about it, and I just hate, man. I really felt bad his first couple years in the league. We didn't put nothing around him. At least a line, at least where he can really, really just show what he got. But we seen the impact that he had the first year in the league. I believe that this dude is like one of the most athletic running backs we've seen. I mean, You can utilize him in all kind of ways. I'm just going Saquon. I can't go against the grain.
Got you. So I will take Adrian Peterson. I will actually take AP. You talking about a guy that runs hard. I believe Ike Taylor know all about that. Ran right out into right after Adrian Peterson caught the ball. He ran right into that buzzsaw right there. I used to just see literally people wasn't trying to tackle Adrian Peterson in the open field. People just move out his way. That almost 300-yard game, I believe, against the Chargers was just magnificent. Then he tore his ACL. That's after he tore his ACL. That very next year, he comes back, and then they had a record-breaking season. I like everybody have the right picks on this one, man. You can't go wrong with
Adrian Peterson was a monster.
Yeah.
Let me add this. Reggie didn't have – I thought Reggie had a really good career. He wasn't a dominant back.
He wasn't dominant, but he was good. Yeah.
He was a playmaker. But I'll say this. He was on the end of one of the most vicious shots I've seen in the NFL. I think he was on the Saints, and they were playing against the Eagles. I'm not sure who the DB was. I think Sheldon Brown wrecked him.
Well, many running backs today ain't getting up from that. Ain't getting up from that hit. Ain't getting up from that. So, Freddie, I'm gonna start with you on this. The best rivalry in sports
of all time.
Yeah. We can go like that.
It's Lakers in Boston. I mean, it's easy. I mean, I've just listened to guys like Mo, because Mo's a little bit older than me, so he was able to witness a lot of these things, just hearing the stories that those teams used to do to one another, turning off the air in the locker room, stuff like that. I mean, that's true rivalry. I mean, we haven't seen that much in today's game where they're actually doing stuff to affect you. Like, those guys did not care about you. Those guys they wasn't friends like how we see nowadays where guys can go compete. Oh, let's go have dinner after the game. I mean, they wasn't built like that. I mean, and they was going back and forth. And in a way, even though Magic and Bird changed the game into the standpoint of the viewers, they were still competing. And they still didn't like one another, even though they knew that they was changing the game in the standpoint where it is today. But it's easily has to be the Boston and Laker rivalry.
Chris?
I like the Boston side of it, but I'm going to go with a different sport. I'm going to go Red Sox Yankees.
Okay.
And I think it's just Boston people. I just hate Boston people. Like, I don't know what it is. Y'all.
me too, Chris. Me too.
Y'all if you're a Boston sports fan, like, by default, like this, literally, and this is the craziest thing. If I see someone wearing a Red Sox hat, by default, I don't like them. Like, that's just how conditioned I am to the Yankee Red Sox rivalry. Like, when I hear people, like, you meet people like, oh, where'd you grow up? Boston. I'm like, you're a Red Sox fan, aren't you? Like, I just automatically dislike them. And that was the hatred between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. You just wearing the Boston hat, I don't like you. And that's pretty intense in my book. So I'm going to go Boston Yankees.
Mo, who you going with?
They kind of took my thunder. Those are the two teams, two rivalries I would have went with. But just to go with a different one, I'm going to go Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Just to be different.
Okay. Love it.
Just to be different. Because I thought that was one of the most vicious rivalries in sports. I mean, Ali was untouchable for the longest time. And he finally takes the Frazier fight. And Frazier does something that nobody's ever done. He put him on his back and he rocked him. He rocked him. Like, that was back when they did 15-round fights. Those were wars. They come back in the second fight. Ali, who's a natural-born headhunter, gets his revenge. And then they do the Thriller in Manila, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those fights where you thought, who's going to quit first?
Yep.
And guess what? Joe Frazier was so beaten down, his eyes were almost closed, couldn't come out for the last round. And Muhammad Ali admitted he was about to not make it out.
Yeah, he was nearly about to die in that. Yeah.
Right. They threw their towel in first. Those were wars. Boxing is nowhere near like that now, but those were wars.
Yeah. And those were entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad made those must-see TV just because of who he was and the way he talked about it, and he spoke in his rhymes. It was a version of professional wrestling, only in an actual combat sport. And that he brought so much attention to that, only being the greatest of all time, but he brought so much attention to it because of the way he self-promoted it. Like, you wanted to see what he was going to say next because he was so damn entertaining when he talked.
His mic skills are insane.
Oh yeah, his trash talking is crazy. It's crazy. So I'm gonna go college. I'm gonna go college route. I'm gonna go Texas and Oklahoma. I'm gonna go Texas, Oklahoma. Just to see my Longhorns put a whooping on them like they did last year, 55-0. It always makes me feel good. It always makes me feel right to beat Oklahoma. And then you can't forget about the Iron Bowl, which is Alabama and Auburn. So like I say, man, that boxing, speaking of boxing mode, we gonna get to it at the end of the show, get to you guys at the end of the show. But the last topic of the day, I'm gonna start with you, Freddie. The best thing you saw in sports this week.
Well, outside of my Lakers dominating free agency, I gotta go.
They didn't dominate. They won.
They dominated. We didn't pay Dylan Brooks crazy money. We didn't overpay for Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, that's
Don't make me go there, coach. Don't make me go there.
You can go to all in. Won't get to me. And plus, they on manageable contracts. If you don't know that either, too. So.
I don't know about manageable.
Okay.
I don't know about Dylan Brooks had one of his worst playoff career ever. Played horrible.
Don't worry about it. You don't see something this year. Don't worry about
it. Yeah, I'm gonna see because it's all see with him. It's all that's all it is with him. And I remember you were very critical of Dylan Brooks, and now he's on your team.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. But we'll see.
I'm gonna go rewatch some of them Coffee and Sports Morning shows during that playoff time. Listen, outside of my Lakers dominating free agency, my favorite thing was to see Damian Lillard finally won out of Portland. I mean, this man has done everything for the organization, done everything for the community. Portland, do right by this man. Hey, he deserves it. I mean, if you don't, you will be a laughing stock of the NBA. The laughing stock of the NBA. And I mean, hey, it was good to see Dame finally put on his big boy pants and realize that Portland isn't going to do anything to support you. Portland isn't going to do anything to put winning around you. I'm just glad he requested the trade.
Chris?
Freddie want Portland to bend over frontwards, backwards, sideways, stand on their heads. I got
cartwheels,
backflips. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The best thing that I saw this weekend, and it's actually it's funny because it was a complete disaster, but it was highly entertaining television. And that was the NASCAR race on the streets of Chicago. They put windshield wipers on these cars. They put rain tires on these cars. It was cool just to see them race on a city street. Like that optic was cool. It was also fun because it was a complete disaster. The cars were crashing everywhere. It was a total failure, in my opinion, but it was fun to watch.
Go ahead, Mo.
I think the best thing I saw, I enjoyed the free agency movement, but I think the best thing I saw, well, it's not the best in terms of a good look, but the reaction by Philadelphia 76ers fans to James Harden asking for a trade, their reaction is priceless. Just the outright hate. Like, Sixer fans are to the point where they don't even want nothing back. They just want him gone.
Well, there's a video out there of in Portland of this guy. He's at a drive-through, and he's talking to the drive-through worker about Dame for like 4 minutes. Like, they're just sitting in the drive-through line, like just lamenting over Dame leaving Portland, and then both of them not wanting him to go. Like, Portland, someone put Portland fans on watch. They are taking it hard.
All right, so
who's your team, Chris?
Basketball?
Mm-hmm.
See, here's my thing. I get judged for this. I don't have a team. I follow players. So I was a Kobe guy, and then Kobe transitioned out. And as Kobe was transitioning, I became a Steph guy. And once Steph goes, I don't know where I'm going after that.
Hey, Key, just to catch you up, Mo was talking about your Philadelphia 76ers. Just thought you might want to hear.
All right, if we're doing that, Key, just for the record, you're probably one of those fans that's ready for him to go too.
Hey, I've been seeing it all weekend, but I've been not all this week too, but I've been seeing it all last week. Y'all remember when the Charlotte Hornets basically picked Brandon Miller? Did y'all see the fans were booing? But not only that, the mascot, the pick, they were so mad at the pick, the mascot was even frustrated. You can see the mascot put his head down. He had his hands up like this, and he put his head down.
You talking about a team that lost free agency? The Charlotte Hornets as well. I mean, well, Ball, why would you stop? I mean, I understand you get your money. Maybe you request a trade within a year, but man, Ball need to get up out of there too, where he can go somewhere to save his career as well.
Go ahead, Chris. You wanted to say something?
No, I agree. I don't know what Charlotte was doing in free agency.
All right, so we have to tell in the show. So Mo, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So this has been a fun show, a long show. But let me surmise something. Pernell Whitaker, one of the great boxers of all time. This man is what I would call a chess player in the world of boxing. One of the great counter punchers. The only defensive fighter that I would say that ranks on his level, that's actually above him, would be Floyd Mayweather. That's how great a defensive fighter Sweet Pea Whitaker was. Sweet Pea Whitaker is part of what most people will call the greatest Olympic boxing team of all time. It featured Meldrick Taylor, Evander Holyfield, Mark Breland, Sweet Pea Whitaker. I believe even Virgil Hill was on that squad. He got a silver. They had, like, out of 11 boxers, they had 9 gold medalists. And the only reason Evander Holyfield didn't win gold is because of a controversial take by the referees. He said he hit the man right at the bell, so that robbed him of winning the gold. But Sweet Pea Whitaker went on to win 4 championships at 4 different weight classes. He fought what he's best known for, all the top contenders. Azuma Nelson. He took him on. Buddy McGirt is probably one of the best counterpunchers in all of boxing. If you don't know or never heard of Buddy McGirt,
he's a trainer for Antonio Tarver. Yep,
exactly. Those two had two great wars. Those are 2 masters of the game. Those are 2 great matches. Everybody that knows Julio Cesar Chavez, how great he was, Pernell Whitaker blanked him, and somehow they called that a draw. He blanked him, and they called it a draw. If you can go back and look at that fight right now, and Pernell Whitaker, I guess, is guilty of letting his hands hit Julio Cesar Chavez's face too many times. That was not a match. That was total dominance, and they called it a draw. He beat Greg Hallinan. He beat Frankie Pendleton. Like, you name a fighter that was a top flight fighter in his weight class, Pernell Whitaker dominated them. And a lot like Floyd Mayweather, he can make you look so ordinary in the ring with his jab, with his movement, his counter punches. Pernell Whitaker was a master. If you're a fan of boxing, if you're a fan of a technician, I beg you to go look up Sweet Pea Whitaker. Rest in peace. I don't know how many people know this, but Sweet Pea Whitaker died at 55. He got hit by a car, and he did not recover from those injuries that were sustained. But he is one of the greatest boxers in the history of the sport. Like, I love Sugar Ray Leonard. I love and respect what Floyd has done. But I think if you're a student of the game, Floyd learned a lot, took a lot from what Sweet Pea Whitaker did. As a side note, Sweet Pea Whitaker beat up Floyd's dad and his uncle. But, I just wanted to throw that in there. He beat them up too. And let me throw you a tidbit for trivia. A guy named Henry Tillman was also on that 84 Olympic team. He won gold. He's a trivia question because Henry Tillman is the guy that stopped Mike Tyson from being on that 84 Olympic team by beating Mike Tyson twice in the trials. Henry Tillman. Now, go full circle. Mike Tyson gets beat up by Buster Douglas. His first fight back from that was Henry Tillman, and he knocked Henry Tillman out in round 1. But like I said, if you're a fan of boxing, you have to look up Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, just one of the greats. By the way, Ring Magazine voted Pernell Whitaker 10th all time of the 100 greatest fighters in the last 80 years of boxing. That's how great he was.
Gotcha. Appreciate that, Mo. Information. Appreciate that. And Felix Trinidad in his prime, he gave him hell. Even though he did lose, he did give Felix Trinidad some problems too.
And he wasn't at the top of his game when he
Yeah.
fought Oscar De La Hoya, but Oscar De La Hoya was at his prime, and he gave De La Hoya all he wanted. But at his peak, Oscar De La Hoya was a bad man.
Oh yeah. Yes, indeed. So other than that, man, fellas, it's been a great morning show this morning, man. We got some good activities for you guys, especially today. I will be live streaming on the network, and on the network we will be doing some summer league action. We will get to see Cason Wallace, the top point guard, one of the top guards in the draft, OKC, go against Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks from the Utah Jazz. Should be a fun summer league. Summer league should be fun. But Freddie, go ahead, tell the people where they can follow you, and just go ahead, Fred.
You can follow me on the Sports Empire Network. I know when you seen my face pop on here this morning, you said, "Oh, they got a celebrity on this morning." I understand that. You can catch me on Freddie Facts. You can catch me on the Lake Show podcast, which we did a show. Me, Mo, Doug, and Nick last night. It turned out to be tremendous. So yeah, just check me out.
Yo, it's tremendous. You gotta have Jonathan on that one time, man. You gotta have Jonathan.
I don't know if we can handle Jonathan.
Yeah, tell him, bro. You gotta get Jonathan.
Put my guy Jonathan on. That'd be interesting.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Hey, every morning right here. Come hang out, have your coffee with us, listen to some sports talk.
Mo?
I'm here on the Empire, so you can check me out on Sports Empire Network, Coffee and Sports in the Morning. I'm with Freddie and the crew on the Lake Show podcast, and you'll catch me later on this evening. I'm going to do my first show, Cheap Seats, with Gene and the guys. So looking forward to that. Let me say one more thing. Shout out to my guy Chris. Chris just got it on as one of the admins of Sports Empire Network. Chris is doing big things. He's uplifting the network. So shout out to Chris for everything you do, my guy. You're the dude.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Unless he's still gonna knock Kyrie Irving. Just saying. And if Mo gonna keep disrespecting Greg Popovich, just saying.
It was the same thing as Bill Belichick, man. You gotta give it to him. But
that man was out the door. He was out the door. Then they said, "We got Victor." He's like, "Oh, I'm not retiring."
He was gonna be out.
I mean, when did you?
Hey, he was in the same faith as Bill Belichick until he got Tim Duncan. Until he actually got Tim Duncan.
I actually wanted Pop to force himself out of San Antonio to come to LA and be a customer driving him. He would have won a championship this year. I guarantee you that. It would have Pop. I guarantee you that.
Well, we gotta see that next year. That guarantee ain't guarantee. You gotta see, next year. But other than that, man, y'all, no introduction for me. Y'all gonna find me here later tonight during the summer league game. So, as for Coach Dante, as for the boss man right here, Fred, Chris, Mo, we'll see y'all later tonight, man. And on the cheap seats too at 6:00 Central Time, and on the cheap seats too. So, thank you guys, and y'all have a good rest of y'all day. See y'all guys at 6:00.
Yes, sir.